So last year I filmed a review of the Seat Leon Cupra 280, one of the most popular hot hatches here in Europe actually, from Seat, that has a 280 horsepower engine powering the front wheels, and that really was actually pretty popular. And some of you guys asked me, well Guido, that's not the only hot hatch that Seat offers, what about the smaller Ibiza Cupra? And it just so happens that this car got a facelift at the end of last year, and the facelift for me was actually really exciting. They've gone for a bigger engine. Where do you find a bigger engine in a new car compared to the predecessor in these days of downsizing, you know? And they have also changed the transmission. So they've gone from a 1.4 liter with 180 horsepower, a 4-cylinder engine, small displacement, to a bigger 1.8 liter engine with 192 horsepower, so an extra boost of 12 horsepower, which is not that much, but this engine makes a lot more torque. The problem there was that this DSG transmission that they used in the predecessor just couldn't handle the power. And that's the reason why this car is only available now with a 6-speed manual. And that makes me very happy, I have to say. That's a facelift done right. Bigger engine, switching to a manual transmission from an automatic. I love that. So let's see how this car here drives actually. I'm in this car for 2 weeks. I'm one of the first journalists here in Germany actually that gets to do an extended test with this car, driving it for 2 weeks. And I was, yes, really excited about this, because a small car with this kind of power and a manual transmission just has to be fun, right? So first impressions. Well, this car shares its platform and the engine basically with the VW Polo GTI and with the Audi A1. And this 4-cylinder engine actually is a nice power unit for me. The torque is really quite something. 320 Newton meters in a small front-wheel driven car that weighs well under 1300 kilograms. That's a lot of power, let me tell you that. So you can accelerate from 0 to 100 kph in under 7 seconds, I believe in 6.7 or so, and you get a top speed of well over 230 kilometers per hour. So let's talk about the driving experience here. First impressions are that I'm basically a little bit too tall for this cabin here. The materials are not as nice, I have to say, as in the Leon Cupra that I drove and in the other Leon. And that's one of the downsides in comparison to the VW Polo, which basically costs the same money. Another problem that I have is actually the driving position. I'm just too tall for these small cars. I wish I could sit at least 5 centimeters lower, then I would feel a little bit more comfortable. But most people should be fine. I mean, I'm just tall. I'm 6'4", 1 meter 94 centimeters in European measurements. So now let's do some spirited driving. I have 2 settings that I can change here basically. There's a damper mode button, this sport button down here that firms up the dampers and also gives you firmer steering and more induction noise. This car has one of these sound composers. When I hit that, that's normal, that's sport. Something is droning here a little bit at higher RPMs, I'm not sure what that is. And another mode that we have actually is when we hit this car mode here in the menu for the infotainment, it's a little bit hidden. Then we have a sport mode for the electronic stability control. And let's try that. I mean, I've driven this car basically the whole time. in these two modes. But the problem really is, wow, wheel spin in second gear up to 100 kph, and second gear goes to about 120. So the gearing in this car is really tall. And when you switch off the electronic stability control, then you basically lose all the traction out of corners in these wet conditions. I was told the car would feel more playful when you switch it off, because they have one of these new e-diffs in this car. So not a mechanical diff, but an e-diff using the brakes to give you better traction out of corners, but really doesn't work in this sport mode here for me. Yeah, you can light up the tires even in third gear, despite the tall gearing. And yeah, for that reason, let's keep it in the active mode here. But this sport mode here for the suspension and for the steering feels really nice, I have to say. It's not too firm, works decent actually on a bumpy road, and it's not too uncomfortable. Seat does a great job on setting up their cars. The character of this engine is suiting this kind of tall gearing for the simple reason that, yes, it has a lot of low-end torque, and you don't really feel like revving it out over 5,000 RPM because, yeah, at the top end it is really losing. It doesn't feel like it makes more power. It's one of these typical new turbocharged engines. And a friend of mine who's actually a road tester at a big German magazine who drove this car said to me, well, to me it feels like a diesel, Guido. Just because it's not really rewarding to rev out, which is a bit of a shame, but I'm still happy that it has so much power. I mean, yeah, that's quite alarming actually for a small car like this. So yeah, overall this was a very exciting and fun test drive for me, I have to say, even though I wasn't able to fully explore this car's potential here on these wet roads. But I guess the appeal of something like this really is annoying people in bigger cars in the city, but also on a motorway. People just don't expect this much power from a small car like this, and 6.7 seconds from 0 to 100 and 235 kilometers of top speed, that's quite something, and it's enough to really annoy people in bigger cars. And for me that's the main appeal of a car like this, I have to say. Where the Ibiza falls behind a little bit for me are just the materials here in the interior. As I said, I wish they were a little bit nicer, and yeah, that would give this car a big advantage over the VW Polo, but that just costs the same and has, for me, a nicer interior, and that's something that I would keep in mind. So I will let this guy in the Porsche here behind me pass, because I don't have enough power to keep up with him. And yeah, I hope to see you in one of the next reviews, guys. Take care, drive safely if you still have snow, and yeah, hope to see you in one of the next reviews. So take care. See you soon.